At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them. At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Welcome back again. Wednesday. This is another Wednesday that we're here. Thank you so much. Welcome to Stand Out, Speak Up. Stand Out, Speak Up. Well, my name's Lydia Olet, and I'm the presenter for every Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time and 8 p.m. Kenyan time. So you are welcome once again. And today in the studio, actually, I have a guest in the studio. It's so funny because today I have two guests. One in the studio, one in Zoom, and they all have the same names. Or why is T.Y. Tonye, T.Y. Mo. What's your full name, by the way? Tonye. No, what's the full one?
Oluwatonye.
Oluwatonye. Okay, I like that. Oluwatonye. What's the meaning?
Oluwatonye. God is worthy of praise.
Oh, God is worthy of praise.
Yeah.
Okay. But you just cut it short for people like me.
Yeah. So you don't destroy it.
Yeah. So just say Tonye.
Tonye. Yeah.
Okay, well done. So today I have Tonye here with me in studio, but she's going to introduce herself further so you know who she is. She is actually my director, and apart from that, she's also my personal friend. I'll have her to bits because she's opened doors for me. When you see me acting those Nollywood movies, she opened the doors for me on that side. And I also have an author as well, Tonye Adenusi, who is with me in Zoom. So she's also going to introduce herself. So today's topic is more about Tonye's book. So welcome. So first I would take Tonye. You can introduce yourself and tell us who you are more in details.
Yeah, my name is Oluwatonye Moore. My friends call me TY. I'm a filmmaker. I call myself a storyteller. I like to tell stories in motion picture. And today I'm here with my friend of a number of years. We've journeyed some interesting places.
I know.
It's been exciting. We've shot films, television series, and I'm really happy that she's taking it further doing this. I call her the Kenya in the Park woman. She does an amazing annual event for Kenyans in diaspora, more like Kenyan friends, So today we're going to be talking about my friend, really, who's written a book, my sister, and I'm absolutely blown away by the book. I don't want to give anything away, and I'll let Tonye introduce herself and tell us more about that.
Thank you very much, T.Y. Moore. That's why I call her T.Y. Moore, so I don't want to spoil her name. So now we go to our other guest, who is also an author. So Tonye, please, if you can introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Tonye Adenusi. I always start with I'm a mom of 4, wife of 1, and also I enjoy writing. I enjoy writing a lot. I do poetry and short stories, and I like to live in my imagination, is what I say. And when you're a person who dwells in your imagination, these wonderful ladies on the show with me today will tell you do a lot of creating, you tell a lot of stories, whether they're to yourself or to other people.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Okay. Thank you very much. So just for our audience who are listening today, I'm sure they will be wondering, so what is the story about? What are we here? 3 women, and I'll say 3 powerful women, or women of substance and tenacity. That's how I like to describe women, you understand? Because as women, we have to lift each other up.
Yeah.
And we always say that women, we have the power. But if we use our power in a negative way, then we bring ourselves down. But if we use our power in a positive way, that's when we can stand and say we are women of tenacity. Yeah. So today, our topic today is about under carpet conversation. And you know, when I say under carpet conversation, conversations that are abomination in a family, perfect family setup. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. And the things that, you know, that family perfect setup, when they say, don't say that, don't do that, don't feel that, it's all in your mind, it's all imagination, it's not real. But as we grow older, the demons and the struggles follow us, and we end up in a deeper hole. We can't even escape or deal with our situations that when we are being told, don't do, don't say, don't think. So that is the conversation we're going to have today. So it's called conversation about the under carpet stuff. So if you know anything that has happened in your family that been put under the carpet, guys, you need to sit down, get a cup of coffee, get yourself some popcorns, and come and listen to this conversation today. So I'll start with you, my darling. So why is this book or is this story actually based on a true life story, or is this somebody else's story? Is it your story? Tell us, is it based on a true life story or?
So, Karina is the sum of many true stories. It is, a lot of it is fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I started writing it because I felt the need to explore an uncomfortable conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Personally, some of my experiences within this book, some of these experiences are from my girlfriends and some of them are from my sisters, you know. And what I have found out is that as I've got older and I've had kids of my own, I've realized that uncomfortable conversations help to heal.
Yeah.
And so when I started writing it was from that place. Some of it was just reminiscing. The day I started, I had literally just sent my children off to bed and they had complained they didn't want to go to bed. And I recalled as I sat there, the 9 o'clock news in Nigeria, when as soon as that came on, my dad would point his finger at everyone, go to bed. And so I started to write that out as a little thing to share with them. But I also started to pick up other things as I went, and I built it out into the book.
Yes.
There are many conversations that we need to have, especially in our communities. We need to have many conversations that are taboos. As you said just before, the under the carpet stuff, stuff that nobody wants you to talk about.
Yeah.
We need to talk about those things. That's why I wrote the book. So that I could explore those conversations for myself. I could get people having those conversations, and I could get my daughters empowered to have these conversations so that they're never ashamed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. But why Karina? Why the name Karina? You could have called it Lydia or Augusta or anything else. But why Karina? I'm intrigued by that. Why Karina?
Okay, so interesting story. I'm from the I'm from the Niger Delta part of Nigeria, right? So I'm Ijo. Karina is an Ijo name. It's short for Aiba Karinate, which means God will answer my prayers, or God has answered my prayers.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
However, often it feels like we're praying and we're calling and He's not answering us, which is very much her story.
Yeah.
You know, she talks to God a lot, and it just seems like, why do you never answer me? So it's a bit of an irony, you know, that her name is Karina when it's almost as if God never answers.
Yeah.
But I remember something that my dad has said to me since I was a child. The good Lord may not come when you call Him, but He's always going to be on time.
Yes.
That's why it's called Karina.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. In fact, what you just said, I'm just going to ask TY right now, is the fact that when we pray, we want it immediately. Or when we pray, we want what we want. And that's why when you say that God will answer my prayers, or God has answered my prayers, sometimes we feel like, is God really here? Is God really listening to what I'm going through? What do you think? What do you think, Tiwa, in regards to that, Karina, with God will answer my prayers?
Yeah.
Does God really answer prayers when we want it, or does God come late? Is He always?
I don't even think it's possible for any human to define God as to when or how He will answer prayer, but He does answer. And we know that from experiences, maybe things we've asked of God, and it might appear like when you're asking that He's not there. And sometimes the answers are probably within us, and the more we petition for them, it begins to, you know, give us light and to begin to show us that sometimes most of the answers already are within us, you know. And the more we look and lean toward Him, He begins to shed light, you know. So I would say, without a doubt, that God hears us when we pray. Now, how He answers is all Him, you know.
Yes.
It's all Him.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go back to the abomination part of it, just going slightly out of the book. Tonya and T.Y. Moore, I know you both have children in the UK. So when it comes to the abomination, the subjects that we are not supposed to talk about, especially in an African setting or an African perfect setting, how do you deal with that now, having children in a different culture, a different society, and different time? How do you handle things like that? I'll start with you, the author.
I was hoping you were going to ask TY first.
Right.
So how do we deal with that? So there is no conversation. So I've raised my kids to believe that there is no conversation that's a taboo.
Wow.
They may not be comfortable talking about some things initially, but my husband and I have worked really hard to remove the stigma from certain conversations. So we address them with the children, and if they don't come to us, we'll come to them.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, we encourage them we encourage a lot of open conversation between us. So my husband and I may be having a conversation about something that typically you would consider an adult conversation, but we would ask the children for, you know, their input. What do you think about this? You know, and by so doing, it's become easier for them to just open up and speak about whatever's bugging them. And they know that if they can't talk to their dad, then they can talk to me.
Yes.
And if they can't talk to either of us, we've surrounded ourselves with friends that are doing the journey with us, so that they can talk to our friends if they can't talk to us.
Okay. Okay. That's important. That's important. What do you think, T.Y. Moore?
I think because I'm a single parent and I have been doing the single parenting for a while. So it's absolutely amazing if you could have both parties there it helps. But my son, there's some subjects he doesn't want to discuss with me, like from when he was 16. I think it was my fault, maybe, because the first time he had a girlfriend, in quote, and he was buying flowers for the girl, I think I overreacted. I regret it to this day. I went telling all my friends and make such a big fuss over it, like, oh, he's never bought me a bunch of flowers, he's going to buy this girl a bunch of flowers with my money. And he's bought her a bangle and everything, and he slaved for 2 months to get me to give him that money. Oh my God. So the boy, I think
demoralized.
I don't think, every time I try to talk to him now about, girlfriend or whatever,
he just of the flower.
He just says, no, Mom, no, we're not having that conversation. Yes.
Okay, that is good. And that topics like this as well. Even though I know today we are discussing the book, but we always have to sometimes bring it back to our children, because children are the center of our existence. They're the leaders of tomorrow. So we have to understand, especially when it comes to culture, that we're in a different culture, we're in a different society, and time as well. Our time is gone, those days, and this is a different time. So that's why we always have to bring it back, because even if it's only 2 people who hear this, it saves somebody's children or somebody's house. So going back to you again with Karina, I'm sure this wasn't just a one-day wake up and writing a book. So how long was the planning? What are the demons that you had to fight on the process, or the distractions or obstacles when you're writing the book? Because I know you spoke to your friends or your families, and you heard all these stories from different people. But when people are telling you things, sometimes there's some things that are so deep that you have to fight with before you can actually understand where somebody's coming from. So what are the demons or distractions or obstacles that you faced before you wrote the book?
Wow, that's a great question. Great question. It took me around 3 years to write it. And you were right, it was incredibly hard for me to do. The parts of the story that were mine to tell, I had to go through a process of healing and making sure that I had gone past, I had to go through a process of healing.
Yeah.
Making sure that I could write it from an objective perspective.
Yeah.
And when I heard, so I really believe that words are like spirits. And when you share, you know how it is when you talk to someone and you've unburdened and you feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
And when someone's unburdened on you, you go away feeling heavy.
Yeah.
So when people shared their stories with me, so I would grapple with those stories. Some of those stories I grappled with for weeks. For months, and sometimes they would stop me from writing the book, which is why it took me such a long time. So there was a part of the story where I said, what did you want? What end do you want to write for this? And they wanted their abuser dead. That's what they wanted. Wow. Right? But when I tried to write that in the story, it didn't work. So I ended up just grappling with that. Can I give this person justice in the story, or is there a different way of telling the story? So those were the things that I really grappled with. It was getting my own healing, and it was making sure that I could be true to the stories that had been shared with me. People had been vulnerable and had given me permission to share their vulnerability, albeit in fictional form. And I needed to treat that with respect, so it needed to be told very carefully. Another thing was that, I tried to write it in a way that is easy to read, that is almost conversational, so that it's a difficult, dirty subject matter. But it needs to be something that people, come to and are happy to walk with you to the end and see the light at the other end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So treating it carefully again was for me something that I found really difficult. And I don't mind telling you, sometimes I ended up in bed for days, just feeling the pressure
Yes.
of people's stories. Those were the key things for me, really.
Yeah.
And saying goodbye to my characters, that was really hard.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I know you said
nice.
I don't know but you've disappeared from our camera, so we can't really see you.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I can just hear your beautiful voice, but I can't see your beautiful face. I don't know.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you're back. Yay. We can rejoice. Okay. I know you said it took you 3 years writing the book. Am I right to assume that there was procrastination here, or it was not just procrastination, it was the fact that it was just too many things going on and you couldn't deal with it?
There was a lot of procrastination, you were correct. Because, I'll start from the end of this book. When I finished writing it, I wanted to sit on my writing for days and just hug my book.
Wow.
Because it was done. I didn't want it out there in the world. It's my baby.
Yes.
There was a part of me that was afraid as well of the questions that people would ask afterwards.
Wow.
The impact on my family, for instance, because I've used my parents' home. I've described my parents' home as her home, So there was a bit of fear that people would think that I was fully describing my parents and fully describing my own experiences. What impact would that have on my family?
Yes.
So those things caused me to procrastinate.
Okay. Wow. And did you also have fear for your friends? If somebody now came to you and you said, oh, it's not actually me. And then they'll now want to know, okay, who is it then? Was it Lydia? Was he Anthony? Did you think of that as well? Or your friends, were they prepared for that?
Those whose stories I shared, yes, they were prepared for it.
Okay.
So the characters in the book, their experiences are an amalgamation of many stories. So it's nearly impossible for anyone to identify a person.
Okay, cool.
Because unless
people,
I said to them, this bit here was about you, they really wouldn't know.
Okay. But your friends knew that you're writing a book and their story, even though you're going to dim the character's name and whatever, but they knew that, when they're reading your book, they know this is me.
They gave her permission to.
Yeah, so they know this is me, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now, I'll ask this to TY as well. Writing a book like what the friends gave our author, Tonya, permission and said, yeah, write this. Do you think that there's healing? Do you think that there's healing by doing that? Do you think the characters find healing in doing that?
Well, I want to believe, from what she said, that they gave her the go-ahead to write it. I believe it gave them some sort of closure and healing because they were able to voice probably stuff they've never known how to express it. So she was like being a voice for so many different people. I would believe that there was healing of sorts in that. Many times you keep something within you for so long and finally you're able to say it. I can only speak for myself. I know I attempted at writing a book. It was such a terrifying experience for me because mine was a true life story, and maybe because I'm in film industry, maybe I had the boldness to be able to write it, I don't know, or maybe because my parents are dead, so I didn't feel like I was going to hurt them that much, even though it wasn't their fault or anything of theirs. But I do know that many times when whatever it is you've bottled in, you're able to talk about it, it gives you some healing and some closure, So I would believe that that was the case, you know. And it took her 3 years from what she's saying. And I think she was being very sensitive and very thorough in how he was treated, you know. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you think, now I'll come back to you, Tonya, as well. Do you think your characters found healing?
Hi, Tonya.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was thinking. Yes, I think that my protagonist found healing. She found that healing is a journey.
Yes.
Right? And in my experience, you take it a little bit at a time. You know, you can heal this, you know, you can face this so much at a time, and you take that bit and you face it and you heal, and that gives you the strength to move on. Where she needed, one of the things that I found both in researching and in my own personal life is that the experiences we have as children go a long way to influencing our worldview.
Yes.
And that worldview becomes what we carry throughout our lives, and it impacts the way we deal with our children, our partners, work, whatever. And unfortunately, so this book talks about the taboos. When, for instance, children are abused, statistically, children who are abused end up growing up into adults who are abused, and they end up in abusive relationships, and most of them don't know how to pull away from those circumstances because the coping strategies they used as children, they end up employing as adults, whether they work or not. It's just the way they know to behave.
Yes.
And so when Karina comes to the end of the story, what I really wanted for her was to find strength to choose herself, to choose her healing, and to choose what was important for her rather than what was important for the society, for instance, or whatever the parents would have wanted, which is another thing that we Africans do a lot. You know, we put pressure on, you know, every person is the representative of the entire clan.
Yes.
So, you know, there's all that pressure. And, you know, so in the end, I wanted her to be able to choose for herself. So I know so many people who still can't tell their stories and who languish in all sorts of horrible mental health spaces because they're under a lot of pressure not to choose themselves. They're still choosing families. They're still choosing their abusers over themselves.
Yeah, it's because we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned that we are a society and a community. You have to be strong. You're a strong woman. You're a strong man. So a man is told you're strong. You're the one looking after the family. The woman is told you're strong. So all the two humans here, the man and the women, we are all told we're strong. So we cannot do anything because that's how we've been conditioned. And the reason why I was so intrigued when I read Karina is because it actually takes somebody. It takes so much for somebody to come out and actually say, this is what happened to me. And the reason why I'm asking as well, if the characters get healed, if somebody get healed, is to help a Karina out there who really wants to come out, but they don't know how. So probably the first thing they can start doing is writing all their experiences down and making sure that, okay, whatever you're writing, nobody's going to get it because you don't want anybody to also know what you went through. So there's so many different paths when it comes to healing. And like you say, yes, healing is a journey, it's a process, but it's something that it's important. It's important for us to heal. Because if we don't heal, like you said, when you grow up in that environment, you grow up and probably end up as an abuser, or you end up in an abusive relationship because that's all you know. Okay, wow, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add on, TY?
Yeah, I just want to say that I want to ask that people should go get that book for two reasons. You know, is a work of I would say is a excellent work of fiction that touches on everyday reality. You know, and the story is told in such a way that you can almost be like Karina. You can see yourself like you're Karina.
Yes.
And for many people, you know, I will say for many of us, you can walk through your childhood and see some part of it. Whether you're Nigerian, Ghanaian, Kenyan, if you're of African descent, you know how our parents are, you know, especially middle class people.
Yes.
There's an euphoria of a perfect home, like
Yes,
Lydia
the perfect
started
home,
with.
yeah.
Perfect home, perfect everything. And they do not want anything to
Tarnish
upset that balance, you know, such that sometimes, because in reading Karina, you will see that it was almost as if the mother was in denial. I would call it some sort of denial, because these things were in front of her. And even though the daughter Karina was acting up out of character and all of that, she wouldn't dare face those things. Eventually we found out why. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. You have to read that book.
You have to read
It is
Karina
shocking,
yourself.
shocking where the story went and reached.
The direction.
Went to reach
Yes.
in the book.
Yes.
You know? So it's it's absolutely a tool to heal young girls and adult women. You know, I feel like a lot of people can identify with Karina, and as they journey through that whole thing. You know, I went to a boarding school. When she was describing the bathroom, I said, oh, if you see the size of the, are we allowed to say
no
maggots?
No. No.
I remember my boarding school. I didn't last up to 2 years. I was sick. They had to carry me home. They flew me back. I couldn't come. Oh my God. Oh yeah. So there's healing in that book. In the healing in the sense that you will be able to confront your demons if you want through that. And there's some parents who are living in unforgiveness toward themselves.
Yes.
You know, parents suffer when you find out that your child went through something and you could have prevented it.
But you didn't.
But you didn't,
Yeah.
for some mistake, consciously, unconsciously. They're still dealing with that unforgiveness, you know. So I think it's a wholesome book that is so filled with so much that, there's healing in it of sorts for abusers, abused, and people
both.
who've never experienced abuse. It will help you be discerning.
Yeah.
You know,
Spirit, yeah.
yeah.
And also
So you can quickly pick up on stuff. You know, yeah.
And I know you say there's a lot of parents, and Tonya as well, you'll agree with me on this one. There's a lot of parents who are carrying unforgiveness. But again, like I always tell people, that you can only give what you have. So because those parents or our parents, all they had was this: don't talk about it. Now, what did you do? Why did you provoke? I see you that provoked the situation. So because they've lived with that so long, and they've not broken the cycle, because it takes a Karina to come and break the cycle. So if there's no Karina to break the cycle, it will continue and continue and continue. So because you only give what you have.
Yeah.
So they don't have that courage that Karina had.
Yeah.
They don't have that. So they can't give it to their children. So they'll be walking all the time with that guilt and thinking, I wish.
Yeah.
But wishes were horses. You know what we're saying about that.
Yeah.
So coming back to Chonya again, when did you realize that you wanted to be a writer? Was this something from, you know, some children, since they are born, they always say, when I grow up, mommy, I want to be a doctor. And they actually become doctors in reality. But some of them also, it's always just a dream, and they never become doctors, but some of them do. So did you want to be a writer, or is just something that one day you just thought, I want to be a writer? So when?
I think it just happened.
Okay.
I think I am a self-confessed multi-potentialite.
Okay, that's a new word.
Wow.
I like stuff. I love knowledge.
Oh, wow.
My hand out at different things.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to be an engineer, and I
Wow.
you know, I'm a cake artist. I'm a hair, you know, I do hair, so I like doing stuff. But I realized that there's one thing that ties everything together is I love telling stories.
Oh,
This way to
storyteller, top knuckle.
Wow, that is actually interesting because all the three of us are storytellers.
Yes.
Because that's what I actually do.
That's how I met her.
Yes, that's how she met me, and she was like, "Oh, you can write a movie." She actually, literally, I'll say this in camera, bullied me into writing a movie, and I totally appreciate her for that because the movie actually went as far as Nigeria. That was the first time I went to Nigeria. I've never been in Nigeria, but the movie took me to Nigeria. So if I've never said thank you, I'll say thank you today again in front of everybody.
No, please. Please. Thank you for writing the story. You know,
thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, my next question to you was how long the book took, but you told us already that it was 3 years. So, what was your purpose in writing this book, and what was your expectation with your readers? What was your purpose? What was your expectation, especially with your readers?
My primary purpose was to give freedom to my children.
Oh, wow.
I grew up in a large family, and we were always able to talk to one another. Me and my siblings were always able to talk to one another. But somehow we didn't always, we picked and we chose who we would have difficult conversations with, even though we're all close to each other. And I've got 4 kids, and I watch how they are with each other. They are extremely close. I wanted them to have freedom to talk to each other, to us, to whoever it is who stands in front of them. That was my primary purpose. I don't want my daughters, I never ever wanted my daughters to grow up wondering what if they spoke their mind, or what if they said, I didn't really appreciate the way that person spoke to me, or what if they had insisted on their boundaries. And they were my primary purpose for pulling the book together.
Thank you so much. And that is why we are actually encouraging you out there, as you're listening to us today, to get your copy, Karina, to have Karina in your house, because Karina will give freedom, actual freedom to your children. It doesn't matter if they're boys and girls. Karina will give freedom to yourself as a parent as well, because you know it's as parents that we have so much luggage, and then that luggage actually trickles down to our children. So if you have Karina, if you're healed first, and then that healing now will trickle down to your children as well. So Karina is a very powerful book. Again, like the author is saying, that it was meant so much for the reader, and the reader was her own children, so that they can be free. Okay, so thank you so much. So do you want to add on anything, TY, before I can ask my next question?
Yeah, in the book, Karina, I noticed that there was a special bond between Karina and her brother. And so the 2 kids, they knew stuff, but they didn't tell their parents. And it reminds me of my kids, you know, a boy and a girl. The boy is the older one, my daughter is younger than him. And, you know, siblings have a way of looking out for each other, and then deciding what they're going to be telling their parents, or if they're not going to be telling their parents. And I was wishing, I wish the boy would go and tell, or, you know, but he felt like his loyalty to Karina was overriding, you know, any other thing. So it might also help people who read it,
yes,
the youngsters and whatever, to understand that sometimes these things need to be said, you know. Although at the back of my mind, now I'm giving out some bits of the story already. Sorry, can't help it. At the back of my
you can't
mind,
spoil it. You can't spoil
yeah,
the
I won't
movie.
spoil it. At the back of my mind is the nagging thought: would they have believed her even if she had said it?
Exactly.
Do you know, like they look so. The children will see themselves as so small, and that other person so big, and then the thought like, would they have believed them?
I think
You know?
I think you asking that question, would they believe them? And Tonya also give you a chance to talk about this. Is the fact that going back again to what I said, you only give what you have. The parents probably would believe them, especially maybe the mom, believe them, but because maybe she went through that, right?
Oh, you are a proper spoiler.
Oh, okay. Finish. Continuation. I thought you were the spoiler.
No, I
It's me now.
was editing mine.
Oh, no
I was editing what I was saying.
No way. I'm sorry. Well, that should now make you go and buy the book. So I'll stop there. I'm not going to say anything. I'll just go next to my next question. Okay, so now we're going to chapter 1, Tonya.
Yeah.
In chapter 1, there's where you say, my heart threatening to escape its cage. You know, when I was reading that was, to me, personally, that was deep. Because imagine your heart in a cage. That means your entire life, your entire existence is in a cage. And don't we, a lot of us, walk like that? So you see our bodies just walking, but we are actually entangled somewhere in a cage. So you said, my heart threatened to escape its cage. So can you explain to us, how was the character? How was the character feeling at that particular time?
She was terrified. The description, I'm so glad you caught it. The description is there to underline the fact that mental health issues
Yes.
exist, whether we're awake or whether we're asleep. And the anxiety that she'd been carrying around with her was what she was feeling. You know, her heart was thumping away. There's always something inside of us telling us, actually, you need to look out for yourself. You need to look out for yourself.
Yes.
Very often we suppress that voice. We will hear it in different parts of our body. So it will be pain in your arms or in your legs. It'll be a headache you can't explain. It'll be your heart thumping at 100 miles an hour. You cannot explain it. It will be lack of sleep. My suggestion to anyone who's listening is, please don't ignore those signs.
Yes.
When your body is talking to you in that way, if you're waking up in a sweat or there's something, stop, breathe for a while. Nothing is the world will not end if you take a couple of days to just figure out what your situation is. That's where she was at that point. She was terrified.
And did you feel, yes, we did it, when you wrote that and Karina actually came out? Did you feel this, wow, we done it. We just wanted to walk in the streets telling everybody, hey, do you know what I just did? Oh, hi, excuse me. Do you know, did you feel that?
Yes, like I was so invested in this character. You know, I didn't plan the story till the end. I let it unfold. So when it unfolded, I was really excited. When it was done, I sat down in my room and I just cried for a couple of hours because I thought, she survived. She made it. You know. And because I wasn't sure that she was going to make it. I wasn't sure at all till the very end that she would.
Wow. And because a lot of us don't make it, do we?
No.
So that's why I think that's the emotions you had, that she actually made it. Because a lot of us are still stuck in that tunnel. We're still stuck in the tunnel and we die in the tunnel. without realizing that there's actually a light at the end of this tunnel, because we think there's no light at all. So wow, hell, I'm happy for Karina. I'm happy. So who was Karina's most favorite character and why?
Well,
I think it was her brother. Because as an adult,
Now who is spoiling?
maybe-
Who is spoiling this story right now?
You asked the question.
Who is spoiling this? Because I know when she wants to answer this, she'll answer in depth. And go on, Tonya. Go on. T.Y. Moore, sorry. T.Y. Moore, go on, T.Y. Moore.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, for real, for real.
Okay, which Karina? The young one or the adult one? Because there were two Karinas in that book, you know.
No.
There was the baby Karina, and then there was the grown-up Karina. So
My
which one?
heart went for the baby Karina, because those ones
Yeah.
are the voiceless, that they don't have a voice. Those ones are the ones that need us the most, but we're never there for them.
Yeah, I think the most that her brother, I just couldn't help but fall in love with their relationship, you know, and with his own small konkolo power, he still tried to fight for her, you know, like wanting to be with her all the time, to be some sort of guard, you know. It was cute but painful at the same time. You're like looking at these little ones, you know, with limited strength, and the people that are supposed to be the strengths in their lives are oblivious of the struggles that they are having. And so he's trying to be the protector, you know, and all of that, and trying to imagine, maybe because of the kind of person I am, trying to imagine how that has affected his own mental state, even growing up as well, knowing that this was something they bottled in for so long. And he went off to go to school, imagining what he must have been for him in his own boarding house, thinking about his sister and the present evil she's gone through and all of that, and just imagining how much both of them shared. So I'm thinking that that's some special person in her life, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
that's really interesting, actually, because Karina's relationship with her brother is modeled on my children.
Is it? Oh.
My eldest is so I've got 3 daughters. My son is exactly like that. He is so defensive of his sisters.
Oh.
You know, he tells me and my husband off
Oh wow.
if we apply discipline in a way that is not acceptable.
Yeah.
He'll say, can I have a word, please? Can you sit down? We need a conversation. What you did, whilst I'm sure you have your reasons, will not work. So perhaps you need to rethink it.
Oh.
This is the impact of how you have treated my sister. This is what is going to now happen. And I'm going to suggest that you go back and you do this other thing instead. The person keeps happening. Like, he's been doing it since he was 4 years old.
Oh, bless him. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So, what I know T.Y. spoke about the child Karina. So, what is the Karina's adult best character, and why, Tonya?
I'm going to say that. Well, so my favorite character. I know you haven't asked me mine, but my favorite character is her dad. However, Karina's favorite character was her best friend Aki.
Yeah.
And I say that because he was, you know, when you have a friend that you just vibe, regardless of what's going on, if you speak in 10 days, if you speak in 10 months, you literally pick up from where you left off.
Yeah.
They know when to let you be, and when not let you be, you guys you make sense. You are, you know, and that is how Akin was for her. You know, that even though he was a guy, and they, you know, people always say, "Oh, are you sure you can have a male friend?" You know, their relationship was one that she knew she could rely on.
Yeah.
And he didn't push her to be anything more than herself.
Yes.
He was like her family people, you know? The way her family was how he was as a friend. So, yeah.
In fact, it's interesting that you say that, because I was actually coming to ask you to tell us more about Akim's character. I was actually coming to ask you that, to tell us more about his character. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so maybe you can elaborate more and tell us more about him, because that is one of my questions as well.
So Akin is Karina's, I suppose, best male friend, right? And so they meet in university and they become friends and they stay friends. She finds him easy to talk to, you know, and she finds him non-judgmental in a way that many people are not.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that for her was a key thing, you know, because she'd had enough of sort of being afraid around her, you know, from growing up. And she got to this point where she could rely on somebody that was not out to get her. He wasn't after her body. He wasn't after her money. He wasn't after anything.
Yes.
He was just there, you know. And Akin, so again, Akin is based on yet another character in my life, you know, who was a friend that just was there, you know. And if whatever I needed, whatever I wanted, he was that person for me at any point in time. You know, he never made our friendship more than it needed to be. He never, you know, when you're young and in university, every time you hang out with a boy, they think, oh,
Yeah.
is that
Something is
going on there?
happening. Yes.
But, you know, but our relationship was never ever that. And no matter how many times we lost touch, he would come looking for me, no matter how long it took. He always came back. And he has never ever wanted anything from me apart from, hey, how you doing? You know?
Yeah.
I'm your friend, I'm your person, you know, and that's why Akin, you know, that was Akin's character. But more than that, you know, he was a man who so a lot of women, a lot of women have this issue with our male counterparts, wherever they may be. Men always want to jump in and solve a problem. When half the time, all we need is, you know, just put your ears down, let me talk.
So listen up here.
Yes.
And
Okay. I think we've lost Tony. We've lost you there, sweetie. Oh, I think you muted yourself.
oh,
Yeah.
that's not very clever of me. Sorry.
It's called technology. Don't worry. We're in a new era right now. Don't worry.
Yeah. So he's just a man who instinctively got what she needed and was comfortable enough in his own skin
Yes.
to give it. You know, it didn't make him feel less
Yes.
or more. He just was comfortable being himself. And I think that's the thing that attracted Karina to him the most.
Yes.
That he was just himself and he gave her room to also be herself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they say that most men, sometimes, even if they're your friends, they feel threatened. They feel threatened if you're either successful than them, or if you're doing better than them, or if you're a strong woman. They actually feel threatened by you, and there's an unhealthy competition. But with Akim, he was just, you know, he was just there. He was actually a genuine friend. And you know what they say about friends sometimes, that friends come in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. But I think he was there for both three things. He was there for a reason, season, and a lifetime. What would you say?
He was just a friend, proper friend. He was a proper friend, and he was such a genuine friend that even her fake, whoever you're gonna find out in the book, was afraid of him.
They fake so and so.
He was afraid of Akin because he knew that if Akin found out that he was a fraud, he was going to have issues with him. So that meant that it was clear to all the kind of person the Akin guy was. You know, he's just one of those few genuine, the real McCoy kind of people. You know, and that's how it came across. And I think she had gotten to that point in her life where, you know, some would say the universe and everything was speaking to her that it's time to voice it out.
Yes.
But I would say the prayers of her mom and her prayers and all of that, you know, prayers get answered in a funny way. Some prayers, the answer to some prayers will be trouble.
Yeah.
You know, until that trouble comes, you know.
Until you go through the mountain.
Yeah, that trouble will come.
Yes.
And shake off all the things that need to be, you know, shaken.
Off, yeah.
And then you come out of it, you know. So sometimes managing something or concealing something, and our whole life was managed, because even though the issue had come out, but they didn't know what she was still, they didn't even come out safe.
Tonya, I can see TY just wants to
I want
scatter
to talk about that
everything
Karina.
here. Scatter our plan for this Karina. This Karina, everybody has to buy this Karina. So you find out why TY Moore cannot sit still. Why she just wants to say everything. So you need to get that Karina for yourself. So next time,
It's on Amazon.
yes,
If you have a Kindle, just Karina Tonye Adenusi. It will pop out. $4.99.
I actually got mine on my laptop. Remember
Yeah.
when we were going through
You
it?
were
I actually
struggling.
got it on my laptop. Yeah, so
Um,
you can actually get it on your laptop as well, and it's
Yeah.
only $4.99.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to her worst character, Karina.
You want us to mention the woman?
But you said
The worst character. No.
hey,
We'll
you
just
said
say
the woman already. Don't mention the woman or the man. I said character. She went and said the woman. Spoilers are plenty in this studio today. She said, do you want us to mention the woman? So we now know, the readers out there now know, or the listeners out there know, there's a woman.
they go and discover it.
There's a woman with the worst character. So now, Sonia, tell us, who was Karina's worst character?
Karina's worst character was the pastor. Because he was he was not only the least expected.
Wow.
He wasn't only least expected, he was unapologetic about his evil. He was in a place where, having run away from everything else, she had thought, I'm finally coming to the space where God will find me and be safe. And she met this predator who was not only who was not only bold enough to attack her once, he tried to do it more than once.
We're going to shoot this film. Oh. It has to be shot.
I knew it has to be a movie. When Tiwa is sitting here, she doesn't take these things like, because I can see her legs shaking. She starts thinking of which angle you should start shooting this. As a director, my friend, stand there, this is your lines, this is your script. That's what this woman in my studio right now is thinking about, because she's a director and she will not take this lightly. And I'm telling you, Tonya, we'll see this in a movie tomorrow.
No, without permission.
No, without permission.
Hands up. But honestly, this thing she's talking about, you know, this life, this is why some people will argue and say there is no God. Because it will be like, if there is God and is all powerful, why would he allow this thing happen? This person has gone to the house of God,
safe heaven,
to the representative of God. Why God no kill him? You know, just strike him once, you know, or something like that, you know. And this is why things like this help you to understand how the whole mystery of humanity and God, you know. So it's like we find out through our pain, through our ugly experiences, that at the end of the day, you know, there is for many, they are able to find a reason for it. And some of them, from their own understanding of it, they're able to liberate a lot of people who would not have to go through that. And for some, it just makes their life fuller. There's something about experiencing the bitter and the sweet part of life.
Yes.
It makes your life full in some way. But if somebody were to tell you that, you'd be like, thank you very much. I'd rather have just the sweet, you know,
and
not the bitter. But until you experience some really bad things, then you appreciate the good things even more, you know. And it's God wanting us to experience all that life has, the good, the bad, the not
ugly.
so good. You know, it's all part of being alive, you know.
Yeah, and you talking about pastor as well is I think that really touched you, because there's a movie that you did, and I know that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
And it's about the good, the bad, and the ugly in church.
And because I went through it myself,
Yes.
you know, I'm not afraid to say it. I say it most times when the opportunity comes. You know, many people, many clergy, they have abused their position.
Yes.
You know, and they have become predators. You know, and that thou shalt not touch my anointed, thou shalt not speak, that came from home. You know, it's flowed into every other sphere of our lives, such that people are, you know, they're stiffened, they cannot talk, they cannot say anything, which is why the perpetrators keep going on.
Yes.
So when you write a book like this, what this book does is, because it is, in quote, fiction, is a safe haven for everybody to go in, identify their self, find their self, locate their self, and you know, work out their own. This one, see yourself, you know, that kind of thing, without feeling judged. You know, I think that's the most beautiful thing about this book, is it gives the opportunity to be free to read, learn, and Nicodemously work out your life, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's some people, you can't force them to talk about it. They would never want to talk about it, because probably there's still other persons that it affects or would affect, you know. And so they are able to read that book, get healed, and get some sort of know how to walk that path, I think. They're going to say, let me write this book. Oh.
No, it's because you've read it and you are touched, and because there's a lot of, you saw a lot of Karina in there, so that you can relate with. That's why. And you know, talking about, I think you know what Tonya said when we at the beginning. She said she loves knowledge. Okay, and knowledge is something that you search for yourself, you read for yourself, you go deeper for yourself. But I think, especially with a lot of Karinas out there, is when it comes to especially the worst character, who is a pastor, is because we rely on people's information, we rely on others' information so much, especially pastors. You see, especially marriage couples, you see, and this happens in most women, not men a little bit, not too much, but women. They'll say, they'll respect the pastor more than their husbands.
Oh, wow.
They'll say, no, pastor said, no, you understand? So they will not even hear what their husband is saying, because the pastor said. The pastor said. So it's all about the worst character of Karina. And that's where there's a lot of Karinas walking out here thinking, you know, the pastor said. So we need to be careful. And your knowledge, you need to search and read and deep and search for yourself, rather than relying on others. And that is what happens, especially when it comes to the worst character of Karina, who is a pastor. So,
Then I can say something.
yes, please.
Can I say something without defending the pastor or any of the perpetrators? I believe very strongly that broken people break other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
whether people find themselves in church, whether they're doing whether they're there genuinely or they're hiding, wherever you may find a person who is broken unless the person actively seeks healing. They will hurt other people.
Yeah.
So, for those who have themselves, so I'll just give this as an example. So one of my readers reached out to me and said, I can identify so much with Karina's mother. I've never suffered abuse myself, but because I came from hardship, I found it difficult, I still find it difficult to relate with my daughters. So when they're going through stuff, I can't relate with them, I can't talk to them. Because she only has daughters. You know? So she called me and she was devastated. Said, so it's potentially when things go wrong, my kids can never tell me because I cannot relate with them.
Yes.
And so we started talking through what issues she had that caused her to be broken, so that she could overcome those and help her children.
Yes.
So wherever these people may be that are perpetrators that are hurting us, some of them are just pure evil, and I want to say God forgive them, but that's not really what I mean.
Yes.
But others are broken and they themselves haven't found healing. Maybe they don't even know how deeply broken they are. In which track you'll find that a lot of the time when people come along and say, this bad thing happened to me, the first thing that gets said to them is, you need to forgive for your sake and
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
But what doesn't then happen is the encouragement to confront all that dirty stuff so that you can, unearth it, so that the blood of Jesus can wash it away, so that you can properly heal. We're not encouraged, especially in our community, to think about our mental health, to go to mental health experts to get some support. Those things are necessary.
Well, when it comes to the mental illness or mental disorder, it's not just in your community. It's a black community. It's not even just African. So it's a black community because we live in this cocoon, being told that you're strong and you can't talk about your issues. And a psychiatrist or a counselor, what is that? Who is that going to? Me just talk to Tiwa and what? I'd rather go and talk to my friend who probably is more broken than you, but and then you're just loading all these things. You're loading all this depression stuff into somebody who is broken already.
And also the belief that everything is caused by a witch.
Yes, a demon. Your uncle somewhere.
Uncle, or
auntie.
Aunt, some water you drank or something, and not recognizing that it's just like you have malaria, you can have mental illness. And the earlier it's being treated, the more, I would say, the stronger chances of being cured. There's some people that it's degenerated so badly that they have to now be confined to homes. I'm talking about wives who were abused as little girls. They got into marriage to, I don't want to keep calling them by their titles, and they get beat up and everything, and then they just snap. We have cases like that, and they put them in mental homes. And why? Because she overloaded on the things that she was trying to conceal and manage and not be allowed to talk about. And on top of that, the responsibilities of running a home, and all of that, And sometimes they would say that a woman that's been abused, she's living in a home where her husband is abusing her daughters, and inability to even dare say it, and feeling the frustration of failure, of not being able to protect her girls, and all of that, So I would look at this Karina book as tackling one of the one of the strongest things, which is speaking out.
Yeah,
Speaking out.
Yeah, speak out.
You know, voicing it, daring to confront it and talk about it. You know, which if even half the people that it's happened to have dared to talk about it, you know, they wouldn't suffer for the number of years they've had to suffer in isolation, you know, thinking that they can't talk about it, you know, and then it made it even worse. You know, they internalized it. Like in the book, you see how the little girl was not understanding that it wasn't even her fault, you know, guilt on top of everything else happening, you know. So it's something we cannot overemphasize, you know, this subject of abuse and domestic abuse with children and how it can affect how they turn out as adults, you know. So Tonye has done a brilliant job of giving us the comfort of being able to read it without feeling judged and being because it's fictitious, so to speak, and he says, oh, this is a fiction, so someone can hide and pretend like I'm just reading a book, but while reading, you know, you're being set free.
Yes. And I just want to ask this, Tonye, as well, because you know you spoke about brokenness. Do you think somebody can actually be broken and not even know they're broken?
Oh yes, oh yes. There is evidence shows that when a person goes through trauma, the brain sets itself in a particular sort of way in order to be able to cope. And when those neural pathways are formed, and that becomes the person's reality, they may not even recognize that they are operating from a place of brokenness.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, they may just think, oh, you know, I'm fine. You know, it happened, stuff happened, yes, you know, but I'm good. I've dealt with it, I've moved on. No, thank you, I don't want to talk about it. But it keeps coming out. There will be angry outbursts. There will be depression. There will be decisions made that are not sensible. There potentially could be psychotic episodes.
Yep.
You know, people go because the brain has to cope. The brain then sets itself up in a way that helps you get on with your everyday life.
Yeah.
So once that's normalized, then, you know, if you've been living a particular way for 30, 40, 50 years, you don't think there's anything unusual about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until someone says to you, actually, Lydia, you know, the way you talk to people, or you know that thing you do every morning where you count the number of steps that you walk between here and there, or the way you lock every door, or the way you go to bed last at night because you want to be the one responsible for locking all the doors and all the windows and double checking them. That's not normal. If someone tells you that, it's nearly impossible for you to realize how abnormal those things are. So yes, it is possible for people to be walking around broken and not realize that they're broken or how broken they are. So what I say to absolutely any and everyone who cares to listen, if you have been through a traumatic experience, talk to a professional, talk to somebody who can help find your way out. Journal. So Lydia, you talked about journaling earlier. Take a book. I believe very firmly in the power of writing to heal. So just write if you can, or get a dictaphone or your smartphone and just tell your story. But there is healing in that.
Wow. There is escape from that brokenness. Thank you so much. So I just want to ask you almost my last question is, Karina insists to attend a boarding school. So why? Why did she feel like, this is more safer place for me, safe haven, I'm running away. Why did she actually insist on this?
So she insisted on going to a boarding school because she thought she would be safer at school. She wouldn't have to face her perpetrators or her abuser. She wouldn't have to answer questions. She was just tired of feeling afraid, and she wanted to get away. I think each of us can relate to
that.
the need to get away from an intense from a situation that just never seems to let up. It's not a normal way of being. You know, it takes everything away from you, and she just needed that.
Wow, thank you so much. So I just coming to almost an end. I just want you to summarize the book for us and the importance of this book coming out now. The moral of Karina's journey, and why now? And the moral of Karina's journey. So just summarize the book for us.
Okay, so Karina is the story of a girl who is tormented by her demons for as long as she can remember. And we follow her through that journey of coming up against things that would break most people. You know, and she survives. She's not a mere survivor. She's powerful and she's strong, but she does not recognize the power that she has. She needs to go through the journey the way she's gone through the journey in order to find herself and find her voice.
Yes.
Why it's important is because so many people that I don't want to say that I come across, but so many people I know are walking around, hurting and hurt. At work recently, we started having workshops or focus groups for people to just talk about their lived experiences, and the amount of pain that people were carrying was ridiculous, and people cannot function that way. That's why this is important. It's important now, it's important last year, it's important next year, it's important always. We cannot continue to carry around the pain that we have, nor can we allow our daughters and our sons to live and grow up in societies where they think that it is okay for people to abuse them and never be able to stand up for themselves. Or is it okay for our children to think that it is acceptable for people to what's the word I'm looking for? To ride roughshod over their boundaries.
Yes.
We need to teach our children the importance of boundaries. Why those boundaries are important, how to put them in place, why they need to honor their own boundaries. So that even when we do things like I say to my daughter, come and sit here on my lap, and she says, I don't want to. And I said, do it immediately. Why? She said she doesn't want to.
Exactly.
But we're so accustomed to forcing our children to do things, whether they want to or not. We have stopped recognizing the boundaries that they put in place. And when we don't respect their boundaries, as far as they're concerned, their boundaries are not worth respecting. So they don't be adults whose boundaries are not respected, and who do not respect their own boundaries. And it's a horrible cycle. So it's supremely important because, I cannot overemphasize, not just for our children, and not just for teaching them or helping them to find their voice, but for all of us who are still in a tunnel, and who are in positions where we haven't yet found the strength to speak up and look up and see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and to get some strength in our legs to get up. I'm preaching now. To find strength in our legs to get up and make our way to that tunnel by choosing ourselves.
Thank you.
That's why it's important.
Thank you very much. So I'll come to TY more with also my last question here. As a reader, can you summarize your experience for us and the feeling that you went through, what you felt when you were reading Karina? So as a reader, so we've heard from the author, from the writer herself. So you as a reader.
Okay. In stages. First, I was excited because it was describing, what appeared like my childhood. Like going to boarding school, your first day in boarding school. You don't have friends, you're trying to make friends, I used to be a chronic kid, and it was in boarding school I started eating, because when hunger catch you, you respect food, you learn how to appreciate food, and I was 9, I was just a baby really. I didn't know how to do anything. My mom wanted me to be, unlike Karina who wanted to go to school, I didn't want to, I was forced to go. So I had a what they call a school senior or mommy or whatever, and I remember my first night I peed on her because I was on the up bunk, she was down, and it was because I was scared. It was a new environment. I couldn't go to ease myself. I just stayed there and peed, and she took me and cleaned me up, took my bath for me. She was really nice. I was lucky to have one of those really nice ones. And then she talked about other things that you people should go and read and see that they're doing there, So those ones, I was protected from it because of the kind of school mother I had, and maybe because I was just too small, So reading the book, it gave me that nostalgia, and she was describing Nigeria. I'm Nigerian, so she was describing, I think it's Port Harcourt or Ebonyi, I can't tell, but it's one of those places she was talking about, and then the next thing I felt was, that marriage that was broken thing, because I had a marriage that was about to take place, and on the day of the marriage, it was called off. It was the biggest drama in my life, so I saw bits of that, in how you're making a decision when everybody assumes you must go ahead with the thing, and the importance of choosing yourself, like she's saying now. Because when I was going through it, I was just thinking, you see, if you listen to your parents, you will make many decisions that are never yours. Never yours. So that book will show you as an African parent what not to do with your children, and if you're a young person, it will show you how to see yourself. It's an exciting book. I can talk about many things. There are times I wanted to jump in there and go and beat a particular person. I wanted to go and beat her. I said her again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, TY. So as we wind up, I'll just go back to Tonya and tell us how we can get this book if you want the book. So just tell us where we can get the book, because the book is important to have. So Tonya, please.
So Karina is available to purchase on Amazon and on Google. You can get it on Kindle if you've got a Kindle. You can order a hard copy wherever you are in the world from Amazon. Or you could jump on my website and order it. That's www.tiny.co.uk. And my name is spelled T-O-N-Y-E.
Wow, that was so fast. Can you repeat that, please? I didn't even hear it.
T-O-N-Y-E.
Take your time. T-O-N-Y-E. Okay, good.
.co.uk.
All right. Thank you very much. I just want to appreciate every single person who took their time today to come and listen to us or to come and watch us. Thank you so much. And like the author said, and also one of our readers as well here in the studio, Karina is a very, and I've read it as well. Karina is a very interesting book, and it's not just a book that you read and then you put down. It's a book that you actually read and brings transformation in your life. So if you, because you might even think, oh, but that never happened to me. But reading Karina can also help you help somebody else. So guys, like you've heard Tonya say, please get the book, Karina, and it's on Amazon as well. And I would say next week, we're always here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time and 8 p.m. Kenyan time. And it's only 8 p.m. now Kenyan time because we're in summer. By winter, it's going to be 9 p.m. Kenyan time. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Love you all. And like I always say, it can only be God. Until then, see you next week on Wednesday. Thank you.
At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.